And welcome to the Tile Happy Hour. It is Tuesday evening. It is 8 p.m. and you have stumbled your way into the Tile Happy Hour. This is where we talk about anything and everything in the tile and stone industry. We love it. We know you love it. And when I say we, I am speaking about my good friend that you can see clearly tonight, John Tedesco. Got a new camera. We actually can tell what he looks like. He's not from London. He's not in the fog. Welcome, John, to the happy hour.
Happy hour.
John, I don't know why, but you were muted.
Oh, my goodness.
That's all right. There. That's all right. We've only done this 32 times. Who knows what's going on? But it's good to see you. I can hear you, and I can see you clearly. Welcome, everybody on TikTok that have joined us. If you see the Tile channel, that little TV up there, that is John, and you can't see him live because he doesn't have enough followers. So on TikTok, you need to jump in and follow John on the Tile channel so that we can do the show together, just like we're doing on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, which is now X, Facebook group, all those other things. Right, John?
I would love to get some people where I could broadcast this on TikTok. This would be great. I'm glad to piggyback on yours. But yeah, we have all those streaming surface. Oh my God, all those streaming venues that we're on, and now TikTok. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tile Happy Hour. It's Tuesday. It's October 17th. It is, I think I know what episode it is. It is episode 31 of the Tile Happy Hour. Am I right?
It is. You got a clearer camera, and now you can't talk.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Streaming services. I was like, "What streaming services?" I don't know what that is. But Aaron may know. Aaron just joined us on TikTok. But I'm proud of you. What an upgrade! Now we're going to have to start competing with camera views and just see who can outspend each other in gear.
It's amazing the technology that's available. I know. We've been talking about upgrading my studio a little to a little better webcam and just hooked it up. And this is the first viewing of it. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's really good camera.
Big difference. What I am excited about is, I'm not necessarily a tech nerd, but I do like techie stuff. And I found the camera. I sent it to you. And I swear within 4 hours, you had it already. That's what amazes me.
All right. So you've been, so Craig's been trying to tell me to get a webcam because I've been just working off my laptop camera, which is a horrible camera. It looked like I was in a fog, but I was like, all right, maybe episode 10, episode 15, episode 20. So yesterday he sends me a text, an Amazon link to this webcam, and there was like a few versions of it. I literally clicked on it. I said, yeah, I could afford that. Clicked it, went into Amazon, bought it in less than a minute of after you sent it to me. And then it gave me the option. Do you want it delivered? Now I'm in New York and we have a lot of Amazon activity going on. Yeah. And they said, do you want it delivered between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, which would have been this morning. So I said, yeah, definitely. Maybe I could use it for this show. I didn't think I was going to have it for this show.
I had no doubts you were going to. Yeah.
And then I would say 2 hours later, it said Amazon 9 stops away. They actually got it on a truck before the morning truck, and it was at my house at 8 p.m. We ordered it at 4 p.m. I mean, my Chinese food was that quick, so it was insane. And we hooked it up, got all the tech stuff figured out, and here I am live.
And we can see you. We actually had a conversation. Does his shirt look good? Normally, you can't tell. It doesn't matter. So.
This shows I didn't even have clothes on. You didn't even know it was so bad.
Nobody knew. That's great. And as John said, this is episode 32. We got a whole bunch of episodes.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I said 31.
Oh, you did say 31. Does that mean it's 31 or 32?
It's 31.
I think it's 32.
Oh.
I think last week was 31. And my computer's going haywire, so I'm scared to touch anything. So I cannot confirm if it's 31 or 32. But whether you're watching us wherever you're watching us, we've got all those episodes on all of our social media channels. I'll throw those up on the screen real quick. You can find all the old episodes, but I hope right now you're watching live. You're alive and watching live. And tonight we're going to talk about a pretty popular subject, the cleaning and maintenance of ceramic tile. So I know there's questions out there. I know we're going to get some. So if you have a question about cleaning and maintenance of your tile or a tile you've installed, shoot it over. We're monitoring the comments coming in. If you're not watching live, still ask the question. We will answer you. I tell you, John, things, and you said this earlier, I think when we were talking pregame, I've had more comments over the last week than I've had ever since we started the show.
Yeah, there's been a lot of engagement. A lot of people have found their way to our channels and to our shows, either live or, through the rebroadcast on the social media channels. And it's great. I just like to help people, the same as you. Love to talk tile, love to talk grout, love to talk sealers. And as much as I love baseball and football, I think I'd rather talk tile. And that's what we hear every Tuesday night on the Tile Happy Hour. Now, I want to know where you guys are watching from. So if you're listening to this live or even on a rebroadcast, type in your comments where you're watching from, what town, what city, what country, wherever you're from. We'd love to hear from you. We'll give you a shout out. And we're really excited about tonight's show because if you're not a tile nerd or a tile geek, this is going to be really boring. But if you like tile, if you're in the industry, you may find it intriguing. And Craig, I always love talking to you because, and this is how this podcast started. Craig and I being colleagues, we've had the need to talk to each other on and off during the course of the week. And every time we got on the phone, it was about business and it was about something in the industry. And we would just not only talk about the immediate purpose of the phone call, we would just go off on a tangent on like whatever tile. Yeah. And I would say, hey, what about this? And you give me your input, and like, wow, this sounds like a podcast, and yeah, we went all out because I was thinking podcast was just audio, right, on Spotify.
Yeah,
which we're not on yet.
Yeah, live stream is I don't know. Depends on who you listen to, I guess. But, the live stream, the video is the way to go. Obviously, the audio, we can strip it and put it on a podcast too. But I think you really want to look at us. I mean, we're good-looking gentlemen. I mean, we're both, we're taken, but you can still dream. Yeah.
Well, I want to give cheers to you, Craig. I don't know if you have your drink.
I've got even though the Wolfpack performed terribly this week, I've got my Wolfpack sweet tea here. And so, yeah, cheers to you. Cheers to all those out there in happy hour land. It's been a crazy week. And this week we didn't plan on talking about this, but the Total Solutions is actually going on. John, I know you're a coverings man, but the Total Solutions Plus I think starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's a great show, especially for distributors and those. It's a wonderful learning opportunity. They didn't invite us to do the podcast there, so we're not there, but we do wish everybody well that is traveling down there this week. And if you're there, let us know, give us a shout out, ask them why we're not there broadcasting live, and let us know what you learned, because it's a great learning opportunity. Have you ever been, John?
No, I haven't been to that at all. I'm actually pretty intrigued by it because I see there's a lot of collaborators like TCNA, and CTDA, and there's 2 or 3 others, right?
Yeah, I think CTEF is there. It's last time I went, and it's been several years now, but I probably should go just because of what I do day in and day out. I think it's an opportunity. It's a little bit more in depth and more intimate than coverings. It's not as big. I think it's pretty regional to just the continental United States.
Right.
But it's a great show, and some great learning opportunities that are going to come out of there.
I wonder, do all the organizations that are participating, do you think they have their like annual board meeting or powwow there?
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think originally it was for distributors only. I think that's kind of how it started. The CTDA,
well, I think it was a CTDA show, right? I mean, I did. Yeah. Decades ago, I attended a CTDA show. It was more of a vendor show with a lot of technical stuff. And now that the other trade shows have become so huge, the coverings in the US and the others, Trasai and Chevy Sama, I think that this show now is super focused on the associations, the nuts and bolts, and then a deep dive into the topics that really interest the members of those organizations. A lot of technical stuff, a lot of specification stuff. I'm assuming there's workshops. I'm assuming there's seminars, things like that. I didn't even know where it's held. Do you know where it's held this year?
I don't know. I do have a copy of this month's tile letter. I bet it's in there.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I may be able to find it. But what I thought a few years ago, I thought that it was going to combine with coverings. I felt like, it's not getting the attention that's coverings getting. But
you know what? I think I'd like to really go to that show. I think it's really cool. I think I think everyone has found their place, and I think it's pretty cool because if they did this at coverings, I think there's a lot of core content that they're going to be talking about at this Total Solutions show,
right?
That they wouldn't get to. There's just too much distraction. Everyone would want to get around to the other things that are happening. Now, all those other organizations, or at least most of them, participate in coverings in their own fashion, right? They have their own booths. They have, setups with different types of installation seminars and with manufacturers. So I kind of feel it's too much. So I think it's a good decision. And let's get that on the radar. Maybe we'll do it next year.
Yeah. I've got the new tile letter here, and it's in Louisiana.
Okay.
See, we should have gone. I've never been to New Orleans.
You know what? It's this week. I think you could hop on a plane and get there.
That's true. I got a lot to do. John, I'm not here next week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you have some real important stuff to do. So Craig, not only being the tile maven that he is, he's also a pretty darn good guy, part of the community, but he's part of the world community. And my understanding is that you do some really, really good work down in Nicaragua. So tell us all about that.
Yeah. So next week I'll be traveling with a mission group down to Nicaragua, and this will be my second year going there. And last year we had a group of, I think, 35, and we built 9 houses in 4 days.
Wow!
And it was pretty amazing. This year we have a little bit smaller group. The other people that were from Virginia aren't coming back this week. They're coming another time. So we're slated to build 6 houses. And the crazy thing is this, it's called the Hope Project, which is right. I've got it right over there. The statistics show that the mortality rate of infants go up by 80% when they have a hard floor to sleep on. And the area where we're going is people are sleeping in the dirt. And this organization comes in and $1,000 buys a house, erects the house, and feeds the family for 6 months for $1,000. And the greatest thing about that
how is that possible?
Well, things are cheaper other places, and our labor is free. So that labor is free. We do have laborers that are Nicaraguan
locals.
Folks, and they kind of lead us, and we're the grunt workers. I mean, I last year I actually floated a concrete floor. In these houses, it's a house, really, it's a 12 by 12 concrete slab with concrete walls and a tin roof. But that's enough to raise the mortality rate that much. It's an amazing journey. I'm proud to be a part of the Hope Project. And if you're interested at all, you can follow me on my personal social media, which is my YouTube channel is at Craig Cahoon. Amazingly, and I'll give some updates. But thanks, John, for bringing that up. And so next week I'll be in South America.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Well, we wish you well. Thanks for doing that. That's amazing. Is there a donation site on your Instagram?
Yeah, there is. It's called the Hope Project. I'll put it in the chat on one of the banners and get people connected if they want to participate. Absolutely, you can definitely donate, and they do these projects all over the world. Nicaragua is just one place they do it, but just trying to give back and save kids, man.
That's amazing. Well, you're definitely doing some good work there. So what other skills do you have besides tile, floating floors, carpentry?
I can talk.
Okay, got it.
And I'm extremely handsome, but really, other than that, that's all I got.
Do you know how to clean floors?
No, I don't know how to clean floors, and that's why I'm hoping today you're going to be able to tell me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So this is a kind of an extension. Well, this is an interesting extension because we've brought this up on a recent show, and then also we've had a few offline questions, and we had a conversation about a client, and so that's how this topic developed for tonight, because tile and stone are such great products. They really have so many benefits to them, and they do need a minimum amount of maintenance, but there are maintenance things that you need to do, and there's things you should do, things you shouldn't do. So compared to all the other building products out there, or some other materials, tile really is very durable, and it's pretty much maintenance free. But we say that loosely because there are some things you need to do, particularly in instances where they're in commercial applications. And maybe that's the first thing we should talk about. When you're in a commercial,
I think we should talk about the very beginning, because a lot of the questions that I get is the tile installer never finishes the tile, and they've left a mess. And the crazy thing about installing tile is when the floor is wet, it looks amazing. But then once the floor dries and the guy that installed that tile leaves, there could be residue from the grout or the thin set left on the tile that you've got to fix that first, because right now you haven't even got to zero. You're still negative.
They haven't even delivered a finished product yet.
Correct.
And that's really, I could visualize the guy like having his helper sponge down the floor while he's getting paid and while he's getting cash, and the floor looks really good and it's shiny. And then you walk out, and then the moisture starts evaporating, and then next thing you know, that there's a film on the tile, on the floor or the walls. And it's similar to picture washing your really beautiful window with soapy water and you rinse it, but you don't rinse it that well. And it looks pretty good. And then what happens is once it evaporates, the moisture evaporates, film is left behind. It's either left over from the cleaning solution itself, or sometimes it's, you have a cleaner that emulsifies the dirt, and then the moisture moves around and the dirt comes back. So straight up, number one, you got to leave your customer with the floor that's free of residue, such as grout residue and thin set residue. There may be a small amount that's allowable. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but in my opinion, as an installer, even if you leave it, you need to come back and get it. There's no way to get it off 100% while the floor is wet. I mean, there is, but it's hard to do. But most of the time, once it dries, and you've done a good job to this point, there's very little left, and you can just get that off with a dry cloth most of the time. But you need to do that, because what happens if you don't do that, then we start working into the actual use of the building, and that residue on there starts attracting other stuff because it's sticky. or porous, unlike the tile. And so then the floor looks dirty. So in my opinion, the installer owes the owner or the contractor or whatever a clean floor finished with no residue on it. And grout haze or residue. Haze is one of the big terms that everybody uses.
Do you think, what's the biggest culprit? Is it the thinset or is it the grout?
Grout. I mean, thinset, the only way thinset's an issue is if you really are sloppy and don't know what you're doing. Or, you know, walking across the newly floor with your bucket of thinset water. Mainly it's grout. And the key, and we're not talking about grouting today, we're talking about cleaning, but I think it's important to start here. The key to it is reading the instructions of the grout you're using, no matter what it is, Laticrete, Tech, Bostic, whatever. Following the directions closely and carefully, and the timing instructions. The timing instructions that are on there are critical, and that will help you get your floor clean and available to turn over.
You know, a lot of the installers that I encounter that I know for years or decades, you know, they were brought up on certain types of grout. And for many, many years and many decades, grout didn't change much. I mean, there was always changes, right? But it's kind of like, you know, electronics. Now it's accelerated so much that a tile guy gets on a job. He was not asked to provide the grout. The grout was provided. And next thing you know, they're getting this new wonky grout that they never dealt with before. And they just, yeah, I know how to do this. Don't worry about it. I don't need to read instructions. And I think that's where the biggest problems come, because these grouts may be so sophisticated that the cleaning process is different. It's not harder, right? It's not necessarily harder or more difficult. It's just different. And there's certain things you need to do and certain things you shouldn't do. So I think that's where guys get in trouble. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you've got a grout worth its salt, it's only been around 5 years. And if your installer says, I've been doing this 20 years, that may be the issue, because the grout he's used to is not what you bought. And
so if your installer says, don't worry, just clean your floor with muriatic acid after I leave, then you know you got an old timer.
You got big issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about that. So you're the homeowner, and your installer has left, and you have a haze, and they're not coming back. Here's what you do. First of all, you need to know what grout was used, and that's gonna get you to fix the problem. Because if you're trying to, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So you need to clean the grout with something that will clean the grout. So if it's a cement-based grout, you're going to need a different cleaner than if it's epoxy-based grout. You'll need a different cleaner, or if it's a urethane-based grout. So the number one thing is, if you have an issue, know what is in your floor. Know what type of grout was used. Then you can start with cleaning suggestions.
You know what? That made me think of going down the supermarket aisle, the aisle that sells like the miscellaneous stuff, like a shoelace or something weird. And there's these little bottles. I think they call it Carbonara or Carbera. I don't know what they are. They're little cleaners.
Carbonara is like food. That's like
well, it's something with a C. And there's these little bottles, and one is like they're all to clean stains off your clothes, like spot cleaners. One says for ink, the other one says for fat and oil, and the other one says paint. So if you get a stain on your shirt while you're at a restaurant, there isn't one bottle that fixes all the problems. You want to, so it's similar to that, because if you could take, you could have a paint stain and you're on something and you're using a degreaser on it, it's not going to work. When you get the right product, just bam, it works. Now, historically, an acid type of cleaner has worked on a cementitious grout, so like a white vinegar. And I don't mean full strength. As a matter of fact, I want to clarify something. We talked about in the previous episode, last one and one before, about ammonia. I was never talking about a full strength ammonia. I was talking about a bucket of water with some ammonia in it.
A tablespoon of ammonia in it.
Yeah, exactly. But would you say that a white vinegar diluted in bucket of water is a possible solution for some types of grout that are out there now?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to your basic grouts, which Tom, I'm glad Tom's here. Tom knows about all these things. It has been a lifelong fight, but back in the day, cement grouts were that's what everybody used. That was the culprit. And what breaks down cement is acid. And there are different types of acid. Vinegar is one. I mean, acidic, citric acid is another. What my go-to was sulfamic acid. Sulfamic acid was kind of a medium strength acid. It wasn't like muriatic. And now bricklayers, they'll put muriatic acid in their pressure washer and spray the whole outside of a building.
They put it in their coffee.
Yeah, and drink coffee while doing it. That is really strong. Now it'll work, but the crystallized sulfamic acid was my go-to when I had a cement haze. And you can buy it in the stores today. And you can the tile. Let's just clear up one thing. If you've got a tile and grout installation, use a tile and grout cleaner.
Right.
I mean, yes, vinegar from the kitchen will work, but let's use something that's been tested and proven on the tile and grout. So you go to that section, whatever store you are, or go to our website, tilebar.com, and just order it and we'll ship it to your house. And fix it with the tile specific cleaner. And yes, so the acidic cleaners are great for cement based grouts. Word of caution, acidic cleaners tarnish metals.
Right. So you're in a bathroom. You don't want to get it on the faucet. You don't want to get it on the any type of fixture. Even glass. I think it may even damage glass. So you have to be really. I'm not sure if it does.
It can etch it. Well, one thing it can do is etch a polished stone really easily. So a lot of times people have say you've got a polished Carrera countertop and you squeeze out a lemon in the wrong place, you can etch your stone that way.
Right.
So acid does do some. I mean, it's acid.
But so you're not recommending a homeowner or a novice play around with crystallized sulfamic acid, are you?
I wouldn't recommend it. No, I would go to something a little more tame. Maybe a tile and grout acidic cleaner that's in a spray bottle that's already pre-mixed for you. You've never done it before. There's one trick that you can do is time. Spray it on, let it sit. You know, a lot of people want to spray it on and wipe it off and spray it on and wipe it off. Well, that's not doing much of anything. Spray it on, let it sit, let it work, let it absorb, then wipe it off. If that doesn't work, try it again. Tom recommends Sure Clean. I don't know Sure Clean, but
I've heard of that. I don't know who makes that. I wonder what's in that Sure Clean. Now, to what extent? So there's two things here. One is some sort of chemical liquid solution. The other is elbow grease, right? Or friction, or are we using a sponge? Are you using a scrub pad? Are you using a rag? Like, what are you using to clean haze? Now, we're not talking about caked on grout that was put down by a real novice that needs a sledgehammer. We're talking about like it looked good when you wiped it, and then when it dried, the haze reappeared.
Gotcha. Yeah. What you don't use, let me warn you, is what I saw a picture of our friend down in Gary J down in the Baltimore area. He sent me a picture of a job where the installer had used a wire brush on a compact drill. So that will get the grout off of your tile.
Guaranteed.
The top layer of the tile. So I always suggest when cleaning tile, use a stiff bristled plastic brush. That's my go-to cleaning.
Got it.
I've got a question here on TikTok, so let me answer that. would there be a difference to clean grout from a porcelain tile than from a glass tile? Porcelain and glass in composition are relatively similar. The danger in glass is, like John and I talked about earlier, glass can be etched. So if it's got a high gloss finish, if you're using heavy acidic, it can dull that finish. It'll get it clean, but it could dull it. Do you have any other suggestion there, John?
Well, I think you're right, because the surface, like a glazed tile, is really almost like a glass surface, right? In many ways. So the glass and the glaze of a ceramic or a porcelain that's glazed are similar. If it's unglazed, then it's even less likely to get damaged. A porcelain. No, those are good suggestions. What I do want to mention is, what I really think people should avoid is buying stuff off the shelf from the supermarket, because those products scare the heck out of me, because these are just chemical companies that just slap on labels. And I mean, how many times have you seen the commercial for like Mop and Glow or something like Mop and Glow?
Yeah.
And it says for ceramic tile. You put that on ceramic tile, you're sliding your ass across that whole floor. I mean, it's a terrible suggestion to do like Mop and Glow on a ceramic tile on the floor. Yeah. And there's also something called Tilex, which last time I checked, which was 10 years ago, that had sulfamic acid in it also, but it has other cleaners in there. So it can work. But the problem with the sulfamic is you're spraying it. You got to really be careful, because if you're spraying it in a bathroom, you have glass doors, you have, chrome fixtures or gold fixtures. So I would really stick with the professional tile manufacturer, a product that's made for the tile industry, because I think those chemical companies, I'm just going to make one up like Dow. I don't know what they make or don't make. Some of these companies just literally just kind of like change some little formulas around, but I really don't think they focus on, the specific
on the industry stuff. Yeah, I agree with that. And everything we just said about cement grout, you can apply that to a urethane grout and epoxy grout. It's just different chemicals. If you try to clean your sanded or non-sanded grout haze with an epoxy stripper, it's not going to work. That's why the first order of business is, what kind of grout do you have? Let's neutralize it with the appropriate thing. And I agree with John. Purchased from a tile specific company. They're going to be the ones that have done the testing on it. They've tested it with the tiles. They've tested it with different grouts. They care about the industry. These other cleaning companies are just trying, not saying anything bad about them. They're just trying to find a one chemical fits all. And I think that's where, let's segue into regular maintenance and other stuff. I think that's where a lot of commercial properties get into trouble.
I agree with that. This day and age, you really want to protect your investment. You really need to protect your clients from, slipping. You don't want to clean it with something that's going to make something slippery. You spend a lot of time. The tile industry works really hard on designing products that have a certain slip resistance to them. And then architects and designers work really hard to get the right product specified. And then you come in and you use the wrong cleaner, and it completely destroys the DCOF, and now you have a slippery floor, not because of the tile, because of the product that you cleaned it with, and or how you didn't rinse it well enough, right?
Yeah.
And so the typical scenario I come across, and we talked about this week for one of my clients, who's really, I feel, the top hospitality designer in New York, and they design restaurants only and hotels.
Uh-huh.
And, they visited one of their clients. It was a restaurant pizzeria place in New York, and they happened to just be visiting, and they were sliding all over the floor with their like sneakers. The job was done like years ago. And they were just concerned, like, wow, what is going on here? And they called me up and said, John, we need your advice. We want to guide our client. We want to tell them that something is going wrong here, because when we picked this tile out, it met the DCOF. It was suitable, and now it's not performing. But they knew enough that it wasn't the tile that wasn't performing. Right. It was something after the fact. And I came to you, and I know you're actually, even though we have the knowledge of the answer, I know you're working on a little bit more of a deep dive and kind of come up with maybe even a bullet. Oh, really?
Yeah. But you're right. We scooted over this a little bit the last week or the week before, I can't remember. And Tom brought up a good point when we were there. Is, when you have a complaint, just like you did, our first tip that some of our superintendents and project managers would go, I'm sorry you're having this issue. Show me your cleaning closet. And they would go to the cleaning closet and open the door and see the rack of all the cleaning supplies that they have in the mop closet. And 9 times out of 10, none of those were tile specific cleaners. They were just everyday cleaners. And there is there's something going around the other week that a different client of ours that said, well, no, we hired this company and they clean every night. And the greatest thing is it's a leave-on cleaner. And I went, bingo. That is not what your floor needs.
That's horrible. That's just like that is crazy. Well, yeah, that's the thing when these, chemical companies are trying to just hit everything with a broad stroke, where these cleaning companies come in and either they're doing it because they're naive or they're doing it because they're creating more work for themselves. I tend to think it's the latter, where
I had conspiracy theory there.
Yeah, I had an unglazed porcelain tile installed in my barbershop years ago, and getting my hair cut, the owner was cutting my hair, and he says, "Hey, John, I love the tile I bought from you, but I really want to make it shiny." I was like, his name was John also. I was like, "John, it's too late. You can't add a shine." He's like, "Oh, okay." The next time I get my hair cut, he said the same thing to his cleaning company, and the floor was shiny, and it looked great. It looked great for that 30 days. And then it started getting little crackles and crazes. And then it started peeling up, like when you get sunburn and your skin starts peeling. And next thing you know, then he paid the guy after 2 months to strip it off and go back to where it was. And I was just like, to me, that was malpractice. They should never have let the guy do that. And let me rephrase that. They shouldn't have done that to him, because they led him down the wrong path.
Yeah. And that, cleaning companies, and this is not a bash against cleaning companies, but they serve their purpose, but they do get paid by how often they clean. And if you have a floor that gets dirty every day, the odds are you're going to get a daily cleaning contract. But if you have a floor that doesn't get dirty and just, your regular maintenance can just sweep it off, you're only cleaning once a month or maybe every 8 weeks or something. And leave-on cleaners are dangerous for a couple of reasons. For my perspective, it makes the industry look bad. Because you have architects and engineers going into buildings and they're like, this floor looked so good when it was new and now it looks terrible. And so what they do is they try to fix that by changing out the thing. It also is dangerous, just like you talked about. You went into a pizzeria with your daughter and it was like an ice skating rink. And that's dangerous, and that's a liability to the owner. And the owner thinks, because they don't know any better, they think it's the tile's fault. When in reality, someone has cleaned the floor, and they have not rinsed the floor good enough to get the residue of the soap and grease or whatever off of the floor to get back down to the tile.
Now, let's dig into that a little more. So, sometimes you could be using the right cleaner and not rinse it properly.
Correct.
Then let's use the extreme example. You're using the wrong cleaner, like less oil. That's just like an oil base. And there's no such thing as like rinsing. Like once you get that on the floor, it's not soaking in because it's not wood, right? So it's a chore. picture washing your windows with like, an oil cleaner, like a Lest oil. It just wants to slide around. You literally have to get dry rags and keep wiping it up. And if you don't get it up properly, or then, like you said before, the dust settles, sticks, the dirt on your feet, the guy walking across with a cart delivering some goods to a pizzeria with a hand truck, and the wheels are leaving marks on the floor. Yeah. The shoes from the workers going in and out of the kitchen, and the kitchen may have some flour on the floor or dirt on the floor or more grease on the floor. Now they're bringing it in. So you really need, like, I'm a big fan of just like super hot water and a cleaner that is not very caustic or harsh as your first line of defense for cleaning tile. Just like, a bucket of water or hot water, maybe a scrub pad on the end of the pole, maybe a cleaner, like a neutral cleaner, pH bound, try that first. And you'll be surprised how, like, even at home, if I'm cleaning, I avoid using the cleaning products. I don't think things need to be like, 100% sterilized every second of your life.
Hey, we're not eating off the floor.
Well, all right. So speak for yourself. So, but anyway, no, but true, you're not eating off your floor. And so the people that get you're also worried about what you're breathing. If you're putting, bleach or ammonia or acid type of cleaners into your floors or walls, it's also going into the air. It's also going into your lungs. So if you could clean something on a regular basis with super hot water, you're not putting your hands in it. Hopefully you have like a mop that you can wring out without touching the water. So the hottest water that you could use with some neutral cleaner, pH balanced cleaner, I think that's my first recommendation. The other cleaners are more problem solvers. If you can't get something up off the floor, then you need maybe a problem seal. But if you have a tile that has no porosity, I don't know. It's topical. That stain is really not stain. It's just stuck, right?
Right. So you just need something to reverse the chemical bond that it has to the tile.
It's true.
And that's the thing. And I will piggyback off what you said and add into it. If you can evacuate the water, that's the I always tell this story. I went for a problem job. This was a financial place, invest money. So they wanted to look really nice, really expensive. So you invest more money, right? So we did, it's like 1,000 square foot, and it was a Carrera statuary looking 12 by 24 porcelain tile.
Right.
They were there a week, and they called me and said, something's wrong. This is terrible. It's whatever. So of course, after work, I come over there, I meet the maintenance guy and the manager of the building. And just so happens the woman that was cleaning the floor was there. And so I talked to the guy. I said, does she clean the floor? Yes, every night. She cleans it every night. So she was about halfway through cleaning the floor. And I walked over and I said, hey, how are you doing? What are you using to clean the floor? And I looked at her chemicals, and they were nondescript. They had no names on them. But then I also looked in her mop bucket. And you could not see the bottom of the mop bucket. It was terribly dirty. It was like your shirt almost. It was black. And she still had half of the floor to do. And I said, how often do you change your water? And she said, I change it twice, at the beginning and at the end. So all she was doing was migrating the dirt from wherever she started to another place. And that is that's part of the problem. And clean water solve a multitude of sins. But then if you have clean water and shop vac or something, a cleaner, a floor scrubber that has a way of sucking the water up off of the floor, that's another insurance policy that water won't evaporate and leave whatever is in there. It gets it off of the floor.
Yeah. When you're taught, we should mention this very clearly. When you're cleaning tile, you want to use a damp mop. You're never slopping it on. There's no advantage to having a puddle. That doesn't do anything. All it is another opportunity for more dirt to be in that puddle of water. And then when it evaporates, all you're doing is emulsifying the dirt and then letting it letting it stick back on the floor. So you really need a damp mop at best. And you need to wring it out really, really well. And you need to change the water very often.
Yeah, what I tell clients, customers, and our colleagues is if you can't see the bottom of the bucket, change the water. That's a good rule of thumb. If you can't see the bottom of the bucket, change the water. Tom says a good practice to send customers do and don't packages before you do the job. Covers the liability. So thanks.
I found this really good mop. You know the mops that you get at the supermarket, they're like yellow, and you pull the handle in, it kind of folds in and squeezes the sponge. Those are pretty good. Brings the water out. But I found one better. They make this, I forget what it's called. You put the mop in like this little spindle, and the mop is actually threads of fabric, and you put it in there, and it has a foot pedal, and it's only like,
my wife has that.
Yeah, it's only like $40, this thing, and you're using minimal amount of water. It's because the water's being wrung out every time you put it in there. I think that's my favorite mop and bucket set.
I'm not a connoisseur of mops, but you know what I do like is I like some of our new water jet pattern tiles.
That's from left field.
Well, I thought about that as we're talking about cleaning and things that we like and don't like, and I didn't want to move forward without you telling me about a product that you found in the warehouse.
Oh, well, yes, but I have to tell you something. This is an encore presentation. This video is from 2020.
Oh, so this is an oldie but goodie. Okay,
this is a product highlight. Let's check it out.
Let's see what John's talking about here.
It's John Tedisco. I'm here at Tile Bar Studio B, and guess what? It's Friday and it's happy hour all day, and I want to show you a product. It's actually a mosaic. The whole mosaic sheet, this is the actual format, is a trapezoid, but it's made up of triangles, diamonds, and an actual trapezoid. And there's 3 colorways. Come check it out. So this is the Rosa. You'll see there's a Rosa marble in here, Netto Macchino, white Carrara, and a Verde. Really nice geometric pattern. This is very similar, no rose color, but we added like this little minky brown color. So all the same colors with the mink and no Rosa. This is called Verdana, and this is called the Grana, which is white and grays. Pretty much white Carrara, Bardiglio, all shades of white and grays. Really nice, really classic. So this is live on our website. Order samples. This is John Tedisco. I'd like to wish you a happy hour.
Oh, John. Oh, switch places again.
Hey, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, I don't know. Switch places.
Yeah, I love that material. That was a really nice one. Nice marble. And we were talking, well, since we're doing videos, we're so engaged in our conversation, but this is the Tile Happy Hour. Craig and I have this show every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. We want you to chime in. We want you to follow us, send us questions. We do have some requests. We request that if you could tell us where you're watching from, post it here, ask a question, tell your friends. But also we have a few segments that we try to do every week. And once in a while, Craig has a pretty good video. And I know you may have something to do with cleaners. I think, with sealers.
I just made a video about the importance of sealers, and that is part of the maintenance program. So I felt like it fit. And so I plucked out a little segment here to talk about sealers. So let's take a look at that.
All right.
Do you need to seal your tile or stone project? Do I need a sealer? Well, yes, maybe. A sealer is necessary for some installations. Let me tell you what those are. If you have a very porous tile, like a stone, you need a sealer. If you have a standard sanded or non-sanded grout, you need a sealer. If you have a brick or terrazzo or clay tile that doesn't have a glaze on it, you need a sealer. When do you not need a sealer? I don't normally recommend a sealer when you have a porcelain tile with an epoxy grout. On their own, they're pretty stain resistant. These sealers protect your tile, and help you clean them. Is it stain proof after you apply the sealer? No, nothing is stain proof, but it gives you the opportunity to clean your system once an accident happens.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah. That's and the full video is up on at Tile the World on my YouTube channel, and I kind of go through some different parts of the how to use the sealer, where to use the sealer, and I tell you what my favorite sealer is.
Yeah, the suspense is killing me, but you have to watch it. So, Craig, today we want to kind of get some of our normal things in here. Today is National Something Day, and I'm going to try to.
We haven't, man. We just were going right along. We almost skipped all this stuff.
Oh my God! Yeah, so I'm going to try to stump Craig. So, as you know, every day there's National Something Day, and there's usually multiple things. And this is two truths and a lie, I kind of call it. So today is National Edge Day, National Mulligan Day, and National Cork Day. Now, do you know what those three things are?
I know what a mulligan is. I know what a cork is. I don't know what an edge is. I mean, I know the Edge is a great guitarist.
So National Edge Day promotes a movement of youth refraining from using alcohol, tobacco, and other recreational drugs. So that's a good day. And the fact that I'm reading this, you're probably going to say that's a legitimate day today.
Probably, yes.
So Mulligan Day and Natural Cork Day. Which one of those two is not today?
I think Mulligan Day is not today.
Okay, in golf, a mulligan happens when a player gets a second chance to perform a specific move or action. The National Day offers an opportunity for giving yourself a second chance, or as some people call it, a do-over. Today is National Mulligan Day. Craig has been stumped once again by John Tedisco.
Once again.
One of my magic skills that I just have on my resume.
I do that. We've got a question here on TikTok.
Okay. And I have a LinkedIn question too on my LinkedIn. So let's get to both of those.
Okay. Let's get to both of those questions. Yes, there are other sealers other than Laticrete Stone Tech. We just happen to carry the Laticrete Stone Tech where John and I work at tilebar.com. Buy as much as you want today, as much as you can afford. But the question was, how long does the grout have to dry before you seal it? That's a good question.
So are you asking me?
Well, I am. Let me ask you, and because this will be my can I stump John question.
Okay. All right. So let's do that. So it does depend on the type of grout. Okay. Historically, cementitious grouts, you were supposed to wait 24 hours to seal it, but then the sealers have evolved also. So it's a complicated answer because some sealers are designed that are water-based sealers that allow the moisture that's escaping the grout to go through the sealer. So there are sealers now. I think Aquamix makes a sealer that you can seal within a few hours. But if it's an oil-based sealer, probably not. So the answer is I really don't know because it's too complicated of an answer.
Well, Tom got it. Tom is screaming online. It depends. It depends. It depends. And those are not just the shorts that John has to wear.
Right.
That is correct. It does depend. Tom, I don't know if you remember it, but I can't remember the name of the sealer. So if you remember, tell me. There was a sealer that came out that as soon as you got done cleaning the floor, you could spray it on your grout joints. And that was the only kind of sealer any tile contractor wanted because you didn't have to go back to the job.
Right. That's pretty cool. I'm not familiar with that.
Seal, like a seal, sure seal. Yes, it had a seal on the packaging. But you could seal the grout joints wet. And going back to the question, and Tom's answer is yes, it does depend. So you need to read the sealer instructions, and they will tell you Most of them, I think, are going to say, and I've got one over there in my corner, but most of them are going to give you, they want the grout to be relatively dry.
Before when I was saying about cementitious grouts, I was also alluding to, well, then epoxy grouts probably have different instructions. And I'm like, wait a minute, most of those don't even need a sealer. So the real funky ones, the new, advanced grouts are one of the advantages of them, that you do not use a sealer. Not that you don't need it. Maybe you just don't need it. Yeah, it's no
right. No and I even say in the video that you need to go watch on my channel and like and comment and subscribe. Sorry for that shameless plug. You don't need a grout if you've got a porcelain tile and epoxy. A porcelain tile and epoxy grout, you don't need a sealer.
Right.
And that's one of the few times I'll say, don't worry about it, because the tile is impervious, the grout is impervious. You just need to learn how to clean it correctly. Right. So, but there are for instance, Permacolor Select and some of the other high-end grouts that have sealers built into them. Are they stain-proof? No, nothing is stain-proof. Nothing ever.
Right. So I just want to back up for a second. We talked about how important it is to change the water when you're cleaning, but let's go back to the beginning of the show. You need to wring out that sponge when you're grouting and have multiple buckets of water, because if you want to just avoid this whole conversation of getting grout haze off, don't let the grout haze form to begin with. I mean, maybe have a minimal amount, but if you have a clean sponge and a clean buckets of water, you can't grout with one bucket of water, right? And you need to have or you need to have helpers switching things out on you. So that preparation, it's like the painter. He comes in and spends more time taping the room than he does painting sometimes. Yeah. So look at it in that sense. If you properly clean your floor while you're grouting, while you're removing the excess, and again, light cleaning, damp sponge, you don't want puddles of water going into the freshly filled joints of grout. So it's interesting how cleaning grout is also similar in cleaning floors. So we did have another question from Gene Goldsmith on LinkedIn.
While you're finding that, let me add to what you just said.
Yeah.
Is my mop bucket rule is the same thing as my grout bucket rule. When you can't see the bottom of the grout bucket, change the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Go with your question.
So Gene Goldsmith on LinkedIn. Yeah. I had a well-known national steam cleaning company in my house cleaning floors. When they got to the bathroom floor tile, they realized the grout was coming off and said they couldn't clean it. What is the best way to clean that type of floor? So, I mean, the short answer is, I understand why you're asking them to come and clean your grout or your floors, but the grout I visualize it's crumbling or coming out. So if I were them, I would avoid cleaning that floor, because they're probably just going to, exasperate whatever.
Not any grout left. Yeah.
Right. So then they're going to get blamed for making the floor worse. So my recommendation would be to if you're just concerned about getting the floor clean and you want to just deal with whatever happens to the grout, then you can go ahead and just clean it however you were going to clean it and deal with the end result of agitating the grout. But the real answer is to scrape that grout out, have a professional or do it yourself and scrape the grout out, re-grout it, use a grout that doesn't need to be sealed, or use a grout that does need to be sealed and seal it. And then when it comes time to clean the floor again, you don't have to worry about the structural grout coming out. Because I think that's what I read from that. Is that what you got?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Which leads me down a whole different rabbit trail, is why is the grout coming out? Where is the failure? So was it grouted improperly? Was the grout too thin? Or is there movement in the place which caused the grout to crack, which therefore is causing it to come out? So there's an underlying installation problem, because grout, unless something happens to it, it should stay in place and stay intact.
Yeah, something's moving. It's either, like you said, too shallow. Have you ever seen people, oh, I just regrouted my bathroom. Did you scrape it out? No, I just went on top, and that looks great for like 2 weeks, right? And then downhill from there.
Yeah, but so there's something's going on that's causing the grout to crumble out or flake off. There's a failure somewhere, so you need to fix that first. But John, we've hit 9 o'clock. I don't know if we covered everything care and maintenance. I will add one thing before we say goodbye: is you've purchased a tile or stone floor. You need to take care of it. It does require maintenance, but probably not as much as you think. If you will do continual, regular maintenance, it will keep the floor looking new. Follow the instructions that your tile professional gave you, and don't let it get too nasty, and don't hire a cleaning company that is not following those same instructions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. And I want to reiterate one more time. If you need a sealer, if you need a cleaner, you should be talking to a tile professional, not the guy in the supermarket or the cleaning company. You think the cleaning companies are experts. The problem is they clean everything, and they cannot, or they probably are not experts in everything. And then don't go to the big chemical companies, because they just like to slap labels on it. And yeah, you can clean your rug, and you can clean your car, and you can clean your tile, and you can clean all these things with it. So you really need to be careful. Talk to a tile professional, someone that's seasoned, that knows about tile. There's a lot of innuendos. There's a lot of different products out there, a lot of materials that are different, a lot of grouts and sealers and cleaners that are different. So absolutely, please check with a professional. And none of this is hard, and none of this is expensive. It is costly when you get wrong advice and you act on it. So it's been real fun talking to everybody. Been fun catching up with you, Craig. I'm glad we're able to talk about this important topic. And this is John Tedisco, and I'd like to wish everybody peace, health, and happiness.
I agree with you, Tom. The show goes by too fast, but we're just cruising right along. Send us your topics. Maybe the topic you want to talk about is something that we can jump on. Thanks for everybody that were tuning in on TikTok. We're going to get John on here. Follow the Tile channel. He's up there. Click on him, follow him, share it. Don't forget, let's keep learning every day and tile the world.